It is absolutely okay to feel down. It's absolutely okay to feel sad. You don't have to put up a front of happiness. You don't have to put up a fake wall of doing fine. You can be real about your emotions. You can be honest with yourself, and you can be honest with those around you. You don't have to worry about burdening those around you with your sadness. You don't have to internalize it always. And number two, you have to identify what it really is that's causing your sadness. We've had a few speakers here at the Creator Summit. One of them was Eric Barker, who was talking in great length about how success measures towards happiness. And a lot of it, isn't a competition between happiness and success. It's about using those two things in conjunction with each other. Now, you feeling down may be the result of someone bullying you, or the result of you bullying yourself. And one of those things is something that you can change, and one of those things is something that you can try to change. Others bullying you is a problem of the environment that you're in, and the steps to be taken to change that are harder than one might think. But even harder than that are the steps to stop bullying yourself, which is the one thing that you definitely can change, but probably the one thing that we all do more than anything else. So identifying if your depression or your sadness is coming from a place of internal hate is something that plagues a lot of us. And also, it's not something that needs to be fixed right away. Some of us get down on ourselves, like me, myself included, because we expect so much out of ourselves. We want to do so much, therefore we're upset when we do less. And that's a poisonous way of thinking, and it's a poisonous route to take yourself down, because it only means that you don't celebrate your successes enough, and you only admonish your failures. And that's no way to live. So if you're ever feeling this way, just remember that you can choose to forgive yourself. If you're ever feeling this way, just remember that you can choose to forgive yourself for transgressions. You can choose to forgive yourself for failures. You can choose to be above your own hate and take that as an example for the hate in the world around you. A lot of bullying these days are people that are projecting their own hate on themselves upon others so that they can escape their pain. And, that's no way to live, but that's someone else's problems. If you're feeling down about yourself, then many times you just need to forgive yourself. But there's also environmental factors that aren't you being mad at yourself or being upset with yourself. They're situational things. Money's not enough. Your home life isn't solid. Your relationships are breaking down. You don't feel like you have friends to surround yourselves with. And in those times, I don't have an anecdotal piece of advice or words that are going to fix your problem or even likely to make you feel better. But if it does bring you any solace, just know that I really, honestly, truly believe that you can get through it. I honestly believe that you're strong enough to pursue your goals and to conquer your dreams and go farther than you ever thought possible. But the only way to do it is to keep trying. No matter what gets in your way, no matter what adversity you face, if you keep trying, if you never give up, if you always pursue that thing which makes you happier, the thing that makes you burn inside you for the ambition that you have, the projects that you see on the horizon, the dreams that you hope to achieve. If you keep your eye on them, and not just on the dream itself, because if you obsess about the dream and what it will mean when you get there, you'll ignore all of the obstacles on the path. Really focus on the whole picture of everything. If you're trying to do something and you're constantly met with failure, or your friends don't believe in you, or your family doesn't believe in you, then those are obstacles that are on your path to your goal. And you need to see the whole picture. You need to realize that some dreams carry a heavy price, but if they're worth it, then nothing can stop you. And
she was clearly very, very upset because she lost her friend. She may have been depressed. She was dealing very heavily with suicidal thoughts. A lot of people day to day go through that. Even without having lost someone, they go through that anyway. Waking up feeling like they're in a completely different planet than everybody else. And this game symbolized that by being in a place with the cat and the moon and everything just feels all discombobulated. You can't focus on the words that are even on the fridge. You're just drifting, and you're trying to find a way out of that. And for some people, like this lady here, suicide was a solution to that. And I would not agree with that, and I'll get into that in a second. But one of the things that struck me was that they went to the doctor and they had on their smiley happy mask, and then the doctor offered them happy pills, and they could either refuse them or take them. And that's something that I don't agree with, because this game painted that as something that's very utopian, very almost like, what's the name of the game? Oh, I can't think of it now, where you take the happy pills to be happy and everyone's wearing the masks. Oh, I can't think of it right now. You know the one. People are dressed up like British cops kind of thing, and it's a survival game. But like that, We Happy Few, that's what it's called. Like that game paints being happy as like a state of taking pills, but this game is about depression and suicide, and they went to the doctor and the doctor offered them pills. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because for a lot of people, their depression is quite literally chemical imbalances in their brain. And there's a lot of, we're trying to break down that stigma of your mental health being an enemy. And this kind of painted it as getting help for that was a bad thing. Or that it was painted in a way that, like, the doctor had a mouthful of secrets and things like that. And it made it seem like the pills were a bad idea. But a lot of people have shown that taking medication for their depression has helped them immensely. Not everyone does go through that. Not everyone is helped by medication for their depression. For some people, it almost makes them worse. And it's about finding the right medication. But in some cases, medication does help. So I don't like that it kind of painted it in a negative light. And I would always advise anybody out there to go seek help if they're going through anything like that. I've never gone through the darkest depths of that, but I've definitely gone through some of it, so I can understand how your mind can spiral and get into certain states where you think that that's an acceptable answer, because then the pain stops, the confusion stops, the lack of knowing anything stops. But that's the thing, everything stops. And that is... I'm trying to choose my words carefully, because I'm not an authority on this. I'm not a trained psychological professional, and I would always recommend you go talk to somebody like that. All I can do is try and give some sort of advice to lead you on the right path, and to try and... I'd always say that my videos and my commentary and my advice are a way of pulling you out of moments like that. But they're not the be-all and end-all solution of those types of thoughts. Going and getting help from an actual qualified professional is always the right step forward, I think. And asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of breaking down or giving in to these feelings. If anything, it's the step forward to overcoming these feelings. And all it takes is, when you're in the darkest depths of despair, all it takes is that one moment of clarity. All it takes is that one tiny moment to pull you out of that, to make you feel like life is still worth living. And I would always argue that life is 100% worth living. Even at its darkest moments, life is worth living. Because life in its darkest moments always has the potential to turn into its brightest moments. In a year from now, in a week from now, in 10 years from now. You have no idea what's on the horizon. But it would be so sad to see somebody give up that potential happiness because they're in that moment of complete dark disparity. So if you are out there and you are going through stuff like that, and if a lot of the themes in this game have connected with you and resonated with you, please go out there and talk to somebody. Talk to anybody. Talk to a family member. If they won't listen, talk to a teacher, a friend, a psychologist, a doctor. There are many helplines on the internet that they're not even there sometimes to offer you a solution. They're just there to listen and hear you talk about your problems. And sometimes that's all it takes, is for someone to feel like they're listening. And again, that's why I said that I wanted to do YouTube in the first place, and why I focus so much on community and so much on doing good, because YouTube for me was an outlet at some of my darkest times when I didn't know where I was going in life. And I started YouTube because YouTube at that time gave me a family that I didn't know I needed or could even have. And then I decided to do it myself because I wanted to give that family to somebody else and to try and bring in people. And that's why I'm always promoting positivity and PMA and everything, because I feel like we can spread some joy and help people in these types of scenarios and make them feel like they're in a place where they belong. And PMA, positive mental attitude, is not about slapping on a happy mask. It's not about putting on a mask and pretending you're happy all day, every day, but going around and telling people to just smile and just have a positive mental attitude. It's about trying your best. Trying your best to work towards a more positive, more healthy, more contented you. And sometimes you might fail at that. Sometimes a day might go by, a week might go by where you can't keep up your positive attitude. And that's fine. As long as you keep up the fight and you keep hanging in there and you just keep living, because eventually good things will come your way. Especially if you make good strides towards it. And that's what PMA is.
Taking the time to talk with people personally, not about YouTube, not about how the numbers are doing, but how they're doing in their life. And like I said, one of the common themes is that we all have points where our creativity breaks down a bit. We all have points of self-doubt, and we all have points of just where we're feeling low in life.
Feel best about, because that's the one where you live and you go on and you keep trying and you keep fighting. There's a lot of very powerful symbolism in the game, like the cracked mask, like everyone's just wearing masks, a facade of happiness, and they're just smiling away through the day. But sometimes your mask cracks and you're afraid that people will see who's underneath. You're afraid that people will find out that you're actually sad and that you're not as happy as you're pretending to the world to be, so to speak. And that is very true for a lot of people. A lot of people are out there putting on facades, and they're putting on masks, and they're putting on what they think the world wants them to see. And sadly, in the world we live in now in 2018, social media is more rampant.
With more obstacles than I ever could have imagined. But what it took, and what I realized right away, was it took sacrifice, and it took drive, and it took unyielding passion, and it took sleepless nights, and it took lost friends, and it took fake friends, and it took my parents not believing in me. It took that, and after I pushed beyond that, I started to gain the recognition that I was right all along. And it's not as simple as that, but that's what it boils down to. So if you're feeling low, or you're feeling down, or you're feeling like you're not succeeding in life, or you're feeling like those around you aren't supporting you, just remember that I believe in you, and that everyone here in the comments believes in you, and that we're all in the same boat together, and we can all succeed if we just believe in each other.